Hello! Welcome! Okay, so last week I did a very simple service that hit most of the prayers that we do on a Friday night. From now on, if you need help doing Shabbat prayers, you can watch last week's service or any of the ones that I did before then. It's become painfully obvious that it's just not it's not fulfilling a need for anyone. So if you do need it, you can do that. You can just go to that. Now, what am I going to do? I will do what I always do on Friday night, and with me and my family until we feel that the pandemic is safe enough for us to go back. I'm not going to do a jump start like we did before, where we ran into temple way too early. So that's what I'm doing. So right now, though, I'm going to give you a talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ecclesiastes. Okay, that's not the Torah portion. It's not even part of the Torah. I'm going to talk about Ecclesiastes because every once in a while, when you study a lot, and you study for decades, intense study of Torah and Tanakh and all the many varying pieces, Mishnah, Talmud, Zohar, all of that, you find that you're always finding new things that you didn't understand about the text. Years ago, I realized that Ecclesiastes was Solomon's depression and anxiety. But just a week ago, I realized something completely different, a different aspect of Ecclesiastes that had not dawned on me. So first we're going to talk really quickly about Solomon's two major, the writings that are said to be by Solomon. Okay, the first one is Song of Songs. Song of Songs, Solomon writes as a young man. It's very flowery poetry. Rabbi Akiva said that all the books of the Tanakh were holy, but the Song of Songs was the Holy of Holies. And mystics of the 1400s said that the Song of Songs was a gateway into mysticism. So they put great mystic meaning on all the passages. What is the Song of Songs really? It basically alludes to God being the husband and Israel being the wife. It's kind of like it's kind of what Chadodi is similar, that Shabbat is seen as being the bride and Israel the husband. Okay. Yes, it's very sexist. Why? Because men wrote it, not God. If God wrote something, don't you think that everybody that read it would agree? Don't you think that it would be obvious? I mean, come on. Okay, so Song of Songs. I'm going to give you a little taste of this so you can see the difference in the timbre of the writing. You can move a chair over there if you need it, honey. Okay. The song that excels all songs dedicated to God, him to whom peace belongs. Communicate your innermost wisdom to me again in loving closeness, for your love is dearer to me than all earthly delights. Like the scent of goodly oils is the spreading fame of your great deeds. Your very name is flowing oil, therefore have nations loved you. Upon perceiving a mere hint that you wished to draw me near, we rushed with perfect faith after you into the wilderness. The king brought me into his cloud-pillared chamber. Whatever our travail, we shall always be glad and rejoice in your Torah. We recall your love more than earthly delights. Unrestrainedly do they love you. Okay, so that's the kind of thing he wrote. Now, what you need to know is this is a stone edition. The stone edition, which everybody thinks is so pure, actually is not. The stone edition was put together by Orthodox rabbis who very carefully went in and added pieces of Midrash and Talmudic belief into the text as a way, that was their way of translating it. That they had already translated and decided that the Hebrew had hidden meanings and different meanings, and so they translate some of this stuff to do that. So, but it's the only Tanakh I could find, so there you go. Okay, so that's the Song of Songs. Very flowery, very much God loves us and I love God and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now let's go decades into the future. Solomon is now an old man. The words of Solomon, son of David, king of Jerusalem. And in fact, they call him Koels in this. Futility of futilities, said Koels. Futility of futilities. All is futile. What profit does man have for all his labor which he toils beneath the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth endures forever, and the sun rises and the sun sets. Then to its place it rushes. There it rises again. It goes toward the south and veers towards the north. The wind goes round and round, and on its rounds the wind returns. All the rivers flows into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they flow once more. All words are wearying. One becomes speechless. The eye is never sated with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. Whatever has been is what will be, and whatever has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new beneath the sun. Sometimes there is something of which one says, "Look, this is new." It has already existed in the ages before us. As there is no recollection of the former ones, so too of the latter ones that are yet to be. There will be no recollection among those of a still later time. I, Koels, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind to seek and probe by wisdom all that happens beneath the sky. It is a sorry task that God has given to the sons of man with which to be concerned. I have seen all the deeds done beneath the sun, and behold, all is futile, and a vexation of the spirit. A twisted thing cannot be made straight, and what is not there cannot be numbered. I said to myself, here I have acquired great wisdom, more than any of my predecessors over Jerusalem, and my mind has had much experience with wisdom and knowledge. I applied my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly, and perceived that this too is a vexation of the spirit. For with much wisdom comes much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases their pain. It goes on like that. The rabbis almost didn't include this because of its very negative implications. It's my go-to when I'm depressed because it makes me realize I'm not the only person who's ever been depressed. This is an ancient work, no matter how you look at it. And it very clearly shows you where he is. But I realized that he also is very much bitter. He's bitter. Okay? And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But there are a couple of reasons that the rabbis left Ecclesiastes in. One is something that we read on the High Holy Days, which is in Ecclesiastes. and it was a hit pop song back in the 60s. Everything has its season, and there's a time for everything under the heaven. A time to be born, a time to plant, and a time to die, and a time to uproot the planet, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to wreck and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to wail, a time to scatter stones, and a time to dance and a time to gather stones, time to embrace and a time to shun embraces, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to rend and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What gain then has the worker by his toil? That part they leave out on the High Holy Days. And they mostly leave it in because of the very last line. So he goes through all this stuff. It's brilliant, actually. Everybody should read it at least once. I have read it many times. I love it well enough that I started Strange Robbie. I start every chapter of the book with a piece of Ecclesiastes. So that's how much I like it. And why do I like it so much? Because I like to feel like I am not the only one. Alright, so let's see if I can actually... These pages stick together so easily. Okay. Okay, so he goes through this whole thing. This is bad, that is bad, this is okay, that's not okay, I did this and I did that and it wasn't okay. But he remembers, in the end he says, so remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come. That's a big clue to what I'm going to be talking about. And those years arrive, of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. And it says, all right, so in the very end it says, I love to waste your time as I waste my own.
I will.
Okay, so it ends with, the concluding verse is, the sum of the matter, when all has been considered, be in awe of God and keep his commandments, for that is man's whole duty. So, I'm going to go back to this one. So remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before evil days come. And those years arrive, of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Okay, so what are we seeing? In the Song of Songs, Solomon is a young man. He doesn't have the wisdom of his years. He doesn't really know about the hardships of life. He has everything he wants. And hope for the future. Hope that everything will go his way and that everything will be perfect and lovely and wonderful. And of course, it's easy to believe in a God that's going to run around and take care of you when things are going well. Ecclesiastes is written when Solomon's an old man. And he realizes that the innocent hope of youth was all a lie. He now realizes he has all this great wisdom and knowledge and all of these things to teach people, and he's acquired everything that he could acquire, but he's miserable and depressed and bitter because no one cares what he has to say. That's what we see in Ecclesiastes. Here's a man who has had all these life experiences and has all this knowledge from a lifetime of study and a lifetime of living, and no one cares what he has to say. And this is what we do to our elders. Not just now, forever. Because they come from a different time, we think that they have nothing to offer us, because after all, they don't understand what it's like to live our lives in this time. But he points out over and over again, there's nothing new under the sun. You think it's new, you think it's different, you think it's changed, but it really hasn't. And the wisdom that I have, that nobody wants to listen to, has as much merit right now as it did when I didn't listen to it, when I was told it as a youth. So I hope that if you think I have anything of merit to say, that you give me a call or leave me a message. Most of you can Facebook me. Ask me if you have questions. I have a little bit of knowledge. I have a little bit of wisdom. I love you all, except for the people I don't know. But my ego, which is evil, I know, my ego cannot continue to do something when no one's watching. And I know that the few of you that are watching and are watching all the time, I appreciate you, because otherwise I'm talking to myself. But you guys, you don't actually need me. You can do services Friday night on your own. A lot of you probably are watching right now because your shuls have opened back up, or you're getting what you need from other places and other sources, and that's fine too. If you really want to watch a typical Friday night service, you can find that on YouTube. There's one that comes up every time that's from one of the big shuls in New York. You could watch their service. I'm sure they do a better job than I do, especially with the Hebrew. But I hope you guys are being safe. I hope that you're being kind. I hope that you have gained anything over the last 18 months from what I tried to put across. Shabbat Shalom.